Well, thank you for joining us again for the last in this series of 3 interviews that we've done with leaders in our movement, all about exploring how we as team leaders can best support our staff as they've been going through this pandemic. So, I have with me this morning Liboy de Velez, who is the area LDHR leader for Southeast Asia. Liboy has a master's in counselling, and he's also the area crisis manager. So he kind of knows a thing or two about what we've been going through recently. Liboy, how has this pandemic been for you? What's been your experience?
The first few days or weeks was kind of tough because I had my own share of struggle with anxiety and fear. Yeah. Because I went to my hometown from Manila, and I thought I was exposed to possible carriers of COVID. And when I was going home that day, I had severe allergies of sneezing, colds, etc. So because of that, wow, a lot of fears came to my mind, and then a lot of anxiety also. What if I have COVID? What will happen to me? What if I infected others? So I had my own share of these struggles with fear and anxiety. Mm. And yet, God used that to help me be more compassionate with those who are affected by COVID. God used that experience of struggling with my own anxieties and fear to be able to maybe empathize with others, and to also be more compassionate towards my team members. So I feel like that was a good experience for me to just go through that and to be in touch with my own struggles with anxiety and fear.
Well, Liboy, thanks for sharing that. Although that's difficult, as you say, it's that sense of the compassion that the Lord gives us that we can then pass on to others. Mm-hmm. So thank you for your wisdom as you speak into this. So the last interview was with Sandy, as she was walking us through a personal reflection that team members can do, and then the conversation that team leaders can have with their teams when they're back together, or maybe still while they're still virtual. Mm-hmm. So as I'm talking with my team about their experiences during the pandemic, what should I be looking out for? What would be the indicators that somebody is maybe struggling more than you'd expect as a result of this?
Before I share some things about those indicators, can I briefly share something about that, Paul? I think it's good that Sandy talked about that and encouraging our team members to do some kind of reflection, because again, being in touch with our own struggles and being aware of what we went through will really help us come alongside and walk alongside others who are struggling. So that's really good. So I would encourage our team leaders to look at that, to view that, and to study that, and ask their team members to answer that.
Yeah, that's a really helpful starting point for team leaders to make sure they've processed their own things before they start talking to their teams about it.
Yeah, because our team members, all of us, were affected by the pandemic in different ways, and we responded, or we continue to respond in different ways. So the impact is really different. So that's why it's key for us to know how to identify or what to look out for, so that we will know who are the people who are really struggling from the pandemic. But before I go through the different symptoms that we can be paying attention to, I would like just to share 2 maybe attitudes, or maybe a prayer that I have in my heart, that as we do this as team leader, that we will ask God to give us the humility and the compassion as we walk alongside our team members. First, humility, because we are not God. We will not be able to really empathize fully. We will also fail at times in identifying and ministering to those who are struggling because of our own tendencies to fix and to focus on our goals. So yeah, we need to approach this with a humble heart, knowing that we will not be able to do this on our own strength and also on our own. We need others. Second, we need compassion, because I think that's what our people would need when they struggle. Someone who will show genuine love and care for them, genuine compassion as they go through difficult times. And just a pointer for team leaders, like what I shared earlier, what helped me to have to grow in compassion is to be aware of my own struggle, to embrace and acknowledge my own struggle, and to ask help from God and from others. So yeah, so with those two, I think there are three main categories of symptoms that we want to be looking at or looking for in our staff members. There's the behavioral symptoms, the physical symptoms, and some psychological symptoms. Withdrawal, behavioral symptoms, example of this can be withdrawal. This can be manifested by silence during meetings when a person used to be very talkative or engaged. Now suddenly you see this team member just being withdrawn or detached whenever you're having team meetings, or he's not giving you some eye contact or looking somewhere else. And then you can also be paying attention to those who would get teary-eyed when they share, or when their voices will break when they're sharing some difficult some stories that they went through during the pandemic. Or just can be reduced attention span. So those are some of the behavioral symptoms that you can watch out for. Second is for the physical symptoms. These can be like persistent migraines or headaches, then sleep difficulties, can be insomnia, or just being not having consistent enough sleep. And then appetite changes. But by the way, Paul, I asked some of our team leaders and some of our staff to contribute to this. I kind of did a mini survey, and some of these things that I'm sharing are what they shared to me. So appetite
that's really
changes,
helpful.
And maybe some possible self-harm, because we don't know what people are really going through. And then psychological symptoms can be just continually being anxious and worried, or finding it difficult to make decisions. And then this one being irritable or intolerant of others. I think that's common. I see that in myself a lot. I get easily angry when I'm going through some tough things. And just continuous low mood or sadness, and not getting enjoyment out of life. So those are some of the things we can be paying attention to.
That's really helpful. Thank you. If you want to follow along as we're talking, there's a document linked below this video that has all these details a little bit more fully outlined. So do either follow along while you're watching, or download that later so you can track in a little bit more detail what some of those symptoms might be, and also the rest of this conversation in terms of how you move forward. So for me as a team leader, if I'm starting to observe some of these things that you were mentioning in one of my team members when they're talking about their experience, how should I respond? What should I be saying?
Again, I want to emphasize that before even meeting with the team, we need to be praying and asking God to give us discernment to be able to identify who among our teammates are going through some tough times, because sometimes we can be too focused on our agenda. Okay, so whenever we meet together, but I think there are a few things that we need to be doing, or we need to be doing in responding to those who are struggling. First, we need to listen with our heart. They just pay attention to the feelings the underlying feelings that they're sharing. Maybe they're just more sharing from the head, but try to listen with your heart, and what are the impact of the things that they're sharing to you. Okay, so listen with your heart and don't analyze to solve the problem. Please don't do that. And then just be present. Just be present with those. I think this is where humility would come in, because sometimes we don't know what to say. So sometimes all they need is just a listening ear, and for you to be just silent, to shut up and just listen, and just say or just a few words. Just, can you say more about that? So those are some things we can do to respond. Other things is just, again, acknowledging some of their feelings. Once you listen with your heart, just acknowledge some of their feelings. Like, you can say, like, I noticed that your voice broke when you share this. Would you want to share more about that? Because it seems like that's something important to you, that it's really heavy on your heart. Or you can say, it seems like you continue to feel isolated, or you continue to feel frustrated because of the setup in your home. So acknowledge some of those feelings. And again, as you acknowledge, you are not there to fix it. You just need to listen. You just need to listen. And then I think as team leaders, it will do a good service to our team members if we are generous at this time. Again, generous in our time and listening to them and with them, and then giving permission if they want a day off, or if they want some extended time to be with God to process all these things. I think we can be more generous to them during this time, especially when they're still adjusting and going through some tough times. We can also be generous in the ministry demands. Because we're all adjusting, we don't know what's going to happen, we're trying to figure out things. So I think it will be much better if we will be generous in our goals, or in our ministry demands. And of course, we need to continue to pray for them and to verbalize our support to them. Again, with the humility, you can say that, okay, I will try my best. I will try to call you, but I need also the help of others. I need your help also. If I fail, can you please help me by reminding me? So again, that's where the attitude of humility would come. That, my heart is for you, I am for you, and I will do my best. But if I fail, please let me know so I can continue to come alongside you.
So I think some of us as team leaders may be feeling a little bit out of our comfort zone by this point, having these conversations. So what are the things that it would be helpful for me to say or to not say? And how can I start moving this forward for the staff member?
Okay. I think it will be good, Paul, or maybe I will assume that those who are watching this video have done some team processing of the personal reflection. That is the content of the video number 2 with Sandy. Yeah. So after the team processing, team sharing of those personal reflection, and if I as a team leader have I spotted, or God is bringing to my mind and heart a few staff members who I think need some more help, it will be good for me to set some individual time with them at their own choosing, where I will talk to them individually. And some of the things that I can share are the things that I have noticed. Okay, and then I will share this in a tentative way, not in a judgmental way, or not like I'm already concluding, but I will share this in a tentative way. Like I can say something like this: I noticed that you continue to be overwhelmed by the things that happened in your family, and now all the changes that we're doing in our ministry. Can you share more about that? How overwhelmed are you, or how are you feeling with all these things? So I will explore it deeper again, and then let the person process it as I come alongside him, and together we want to come up with possible steps to address what he or she is going through. Or I can also say something like, again, it's more of a reflecting or sharing in a tentative way some of my observations.
Yeah.
Again, these are just observation, not conclusion or not judgment. And more of asking, is there anything that I can help you to with this, or how can I continue to support you? And you can, depends on where the person is, depends on your discernment, and depends on what the person shares. It can be like just three things, Paul. It can be just the person just would need a listening ear. Someone to help him process, maybe in the team, during the team sharing, he or she did not share all the details or all the deeper things. So maybe he needs a more private conversation with just one person that he or she trusts. So maybe that's what this staff member needs, just a listening ear who will continue to process what she went through. Or it can be just, it can be the second one is the what we call the crisis debrief. Someone who will help the staff member process what they're going through, the struggles in a more structured way. And I think we have resources as a movement for that, the crisis debrief, because we've gone through different crises, yeah, and we have some experienced crisis debriefers for that. So that's the second. Or maybe the staff member would need some professional help because it might just be too much to handle by just one person or by someone who is not a trained counselor. So again, those are the three possible helps that we can offer. But again, it should be a discussion, and when with the staff members, and you want it to come from the staff member as you discuss this. Again, holding things loosely, and then continue to discern and listen where the person is and what his readiness. Maybe for now he is just ready to have someone listen to him, and then again this is a process. This is not just a one-time event. I hope we're communicating that once you've once you had one conversation and that's it, you would assume that he can do ministry already full blast or at full steam. No, I think it will also be good to think of this as a process, because we will not go, be able to handle all the struggle in overnight.
Let me see whether I've got this. So as I mentioned earlier, we've put all these details in a document that's linked below this video. But it seems to me you were suggesting there are three possible options. One is just this idea of a listening ear, somebody that can come alongside the staff member and just give them the time and the space to continue to process this. Mm-hmm. The second one you mentioned was a crisis debrief, and as you mentioned, we may have resources within the movement, possibly within your area, that we can arrange for the staff member to have a crisis debrief as a result of some of the things that they've been going through. LDHR will be your best point of contact for seeing whether that's the way forward. But the third one that you mentioned was that actually there may be some staff members that have just had such a significant response, or this has brought up things that actually they're going to need professional help. And I know different areas and different national ministries have different policies on this, but that may be that you have those resources within the national ministry, but it may also be that you need to look elsewhere outside of the ministry. And again, LDHR may well have some lists of contacts of people that they've used during this time.
And again, for the team leader, just the heart of coming alongside with your team member, that this is the process. You are not here to fix it, but you want to continue to come alongside by providing these resources to them.
That's fantastic. Leroy, thank you so much for both sharing your time, but also just your expertise, your experience, and just your own personal journey as we've been going through this this strange time of this pandemic.
Thank you for the opportunity. And thanks to those who contributed to the mini survey.
Indeed, good shout out. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to you for watching. And we will certainly be praying for you as you as team leaders continue to walk this time through with the people that God's called alongside you in the ministry. Thank you.